What's going on, y'all? Jesus Hilario H here, doing my daily vlog here. So, just had a podcast episode with on the Corpus Christi Originals podcast, and I was featuring Melanie Sandoval, a doula in South Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas area. Doula, Doula, and they're basically I want to say like a mental health practitioner for pregnant women. I'm not sure exactly how to describe it. But yeah, she it was pretty cool. Um, you can look up what a doula is online, and it's totally different from a midwife. But anyways, we were talking about her passion and stuff like that, and then we were got into the topics of community, family, fathers, mothers, mental health, immigration. She's a first generation Mexican American. Um, very cool conversation. But we were talking about family and how it's like totally different nowadays, and it's just like destroyed, the family system, mother and father, kids, like the mother and father are separated, my parents are divorced, my dad remarried, my mom remarried, and having these different type of mixed families. But anyway, I'm also thinking about the teen pregnant women here in South Texas, in Corpus Christi, Texas, and they don't really know a lot about their bodies, how their bodies react to having a baby, or how their bodies are developing. Even if they're teens, they're still basically kind of adolescents, children's, having children, and how much of an impact it could have on them, on their kid, on their family. Like it's a societal issue, having teen pregnant mothers, and having even at that, like teen fathers. Like, can you imagine? Uh, I mean, some people get married young, stay together for a long time, stay together till death, and have kids and stuff like that. Some people don't. I mean, just if we could stay together in marriage and learn how to be married for the long haul, and not abuse each other emotionally, physically, mentally, and actually, have a life together and learn how to be married, talk to each other, communicate, all these things, all the good things that we can think about whenever we think about two people being together for the rest of their life, right? Um, so I think society would be a lot better if we could stay together, and there's a lot of selfish people out there, a lot of people that will use women, that will use men, will use their children. And it's like, how do we get away from that? And I can't help but like think about the belief system, like I believe that God instituted marriage. He created marriage to be a certain way, and if we don't stick to that way, then basically it's the wrong way. It's opposite or contrary to a biblical perspective, and things can get out of hand, and we can be selfish and not even and totally forget about God. If that couple is a believer or whatever, if they're believers, and you can totally forget about God and not even care about what he thinks about marriage, and we can have it from our own perspective, our own mind, thoughts on marriage, and we could just like not even want to get married, but still have kids with somebody, and I think there's statistics that show like the couple that gets married first and then has kids is more likely to stay together, as opposed to the couple that has kids first and then gets married. I mean, you put the buggy before the horse type of thing, and I think that we need that more in society, man. And it's sad to think about couples that don't stay together, people that don't stay together and have kids with multiple different partners and sleep around and stuff like that. I think it's bad for society. I mean, you think about disease that may be caused by that type of lifestyle, from people, But I just wish in society we could stay together longer, She also mentioned Melanie in the Corpus Christi Originals podcast for episode 94, Women's Edition number 2. Melanie Sandoval, she was also talking about men's mental health, right? Um, how much that has an effect on being, um, that the man grew up with, that like in Hispanic culture, men grew up to not express themselves, not to say anything, not to and there's a lot of anger in them. And I can kind of relate to that too, because when I got married, I had a lot of problems communicating with my wife. Um, and Melanie had mentioned that, in my culture, that men are just are raised to like not cry, not say anything, just to do their work, and the only time they lift their head up is to go to another task, and I feel that till this day, and I think it's a good work ethic, it's a good thing to have, but at the same time, don't sacrifice your mental health, as a man, learn how to talk, how to speak to another person. um Learn it now. That way, when you do get married, you decide to get married, that you know how to communicate with people, with your wife, with your spouse, with your friends, your family. Um, we also had I also mentioned the topic of narcissism, that their narcissists want to keep you within their boundaries, want to keep you under their grip. They want you to just live for them, and it's difficult for a person that lived in that abuse. Whenever they go off to themselves, it's hard to live for themselves, because they've always lived for the narcissistic partner, the narcissistic mother, whoever the narcissistic person was prevalent in their life. That person would live for them, right? So just that in society is bad too. And then you throw social media in the mix. Everybody's got an opinion, everybody's got a comment. you know you follow your friends follow your friends, and then you're still in high school again. You're still in high school again, trying to impress and please your group of friends, that this is the way to go, and everybody does the same thing, and you really don't even get to do what you want to do, because you're so heavily influenced by your friends or by those narcissistic members of society. um so it was a really good conversation that Melanie and I had on episode 94 of the Corpus Christi Originals podcast. I wish her well. She's got 3 kids. She's single. At 13 months pregnant, she was diagnosed with a brain tumor. So to even through all that adversity, she created this doula agency in South Texas, and had this creation, started a business. Basically, it's awesome, man, to see that. And I mentioned to her too that she kind of embodies like what a Latina is, or that they're very strong minded, don't take no crap from nobody type of old school, you know, first generation Mexican American mentality, which is cool. She reminded me a lot of my cousins on the Hernandez side. I mean, I got like upwards of 30 cousins. My dad had 13 siblings, and my grandmother was, I want to say, I think my dad was first generation Mexican American. Thinking about that, but yeah, my cousins, like, they don't put up with nothing. Don't don't do nothing to them. You know what I mean? Treat them right. That type of thing. So it reminded me of that. My cousins out there, hope they're doing all right. They're in San Antonio. They've been out there for a while. I'm thinking specifically about my cousins. Um, yeah, they had went out there, went to school, and stayed out there. It's cool. And Melanie was also mentioning that she lived in San Antonio for a little while, and that the community in San Antonio is it's obviously bigger, and they're more likely to kind of get behind you and help you out through your journey. And I think it kind of is a little bit like that in Corpus. It just seems like it's a smaller town mentality. It's a smaller city, obviously, and I just pray that my community in Texas, Corpus Christi, Texas, gets better for the sake of itself, and these topics that we were mentioning, mental health, mental health in men, marriage, family, that these values, I hope that they get a little bit more ingrained in our belief systems, and we have a biblical perspective on it. That would be so cool, you know. And I can't help but think of all the arguments that somebody could have toward that. Oh, well, I don't believe in the Bible, and I believe that the universe and this and that, which is, I mean, you can have those beliefs, but my belief is, anything other than biblical is secular, and it won't. I don't think it'll last, basically, because the only kingdom that will last is God's kingdom, and we're here down here trying to build our own kingdoms, and the only king that's going to stand. I mean, the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, is Jesus, right? The King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. Basically, his kingdom is the only kingdom that's going to remain and stand, and still have, among all the other kingdoms that we're trying to build, his kingdom is the best kingdom. It's the one that's it's the only one that's going to withstand all this secularism, all this all these thoughts that are modern and you know not biblical. Basically, God's going to outlast, his kingdom is going to outlast any of those. So, anyways, hope I left that on a good note for you guys. Thanks a lot for listening, for watching the podcast. Check out my other podcast if you're interested. Corpus Christi Originals podcast. Corpus Christi Originals podcast. Check that out. I'm at episode 94. I can't remember which episode I'm on this one, but anyways, thanks a lot, you guys, for listening, for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments about what I'm talking about. And yeah, have a good one. Bye.